What's up, baseball world? Welcome along to a very, very special edition of Jay's Talk with Jay. It's been a while. We haven't recorded for a month. Things in the UK have gone kind of crazy. I'm back to work in like proper work, entertaining the thousands and thousands of kids. He says, it sounds really bad that as well, doesn't it? But like not in that way. But yeah, like it's been mad here. But with 1 week to go, this is probably the biggest week of the season without question. So it made no sense to do this on my own, which I was going to do. I did think about it. I was like, do a podcast on your own. And I thought, no. But so we are joined today by Blue Jay Center regulars, Sheldon, Rob, and Steve in his suit from his office. Don't tell his employers. We are also joined by Martin, who is a regular on Fan Take Friday. And it is a massive pleasure as well to be joined by Bryson from Everything Blue Jays. Boys, how you all doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. But hope everyone's having a great day except for Joe West and the Red Sox. They can screw off.
Good start. There's quite a bit to talk about. And I think the first thing we have to start with, we'll probably start with now, maybe move backwards. It depends on how this goes. Guys, what do you feel about the week that's coming up?
Nice to have baseball that means something in September. I mean, 2 years ago, we were looking at a 95 loss season. So it's going to be intense. The blood pressure is definitely up, but it's going to be exciting to watch.
Steve, I do have a question for you. Would you have preferred the Jays to play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, off day Friday, play Saturday, Sunday?
If you're referring to the Fan Take Friday record and how dismal it is, yeah, probably that would have been best for the team. I'll take one for the team.
Oh, man.
You guys got...
Go ahead, man.
I think you guys got to change that day. I think it's got to be Fan Take Thursday now.
6-15. 6-15.
Yeah.
If everyone wants to know what the record is, it's brutal, man. But I feel so bad for our guy Steve. I told him, I texted him every morning. I'm driving to work on Saturday, and I'm listening to the radio. They're like, "Oh, terrible Jays game last night." I'm like, "Oh, my guy Steve did it for the last 20 weeks." And I mean, my applause, man. It's tough to talk to angry Blue Jays fans on a weekly basis.
Win or lose, man, we're still Blue Jays fans, right? We're gonna either celebrate a win or we're gonna try
100%. 100%.
Do you know what's worse? I think I'm actually 6-15 on Fan Take Friday as well. I think I've been on 6 times, right? Not saying it's a jinx or anything. Yeah, like Sheldon, what do you think? Because you're quietly a Yankees fan sitting there in the corner.
I like how you guys all say that stuff. Look, the Jays gotta take 2 out of 3. I want them to sweep, to be honest with you. Ideally, the wild card game, I want it to be Yankees and the Jays, but the Yankees are starting to roll right now. So, but we've seen it with the Yankees. They get hot, then they get ice cold, and they get bombed, and then they kind of fall apart. So this, from the Jays' perspective, hopefully they can get them rolling in the wrong direction, and but they got to take 2 out of 3, or at least sweep them. Anything less than that, and then when you walk into Baltimore, you got to pound the crap out of them, just to make sure that you get into that wild card spot. But it's going to be, they got Garrett Cole on Wednesday, I think. I know we've hit him before, but Cole's kind of one of those, he might ramp up his adrenaline, and he might just end up pitching like 15 Ks, 1 earned run, some kind of over 7 innings. He might end up doing that. So
we win 1-0. We win 1-0.
That might be the score of 1-0. And the Jays offense has kind of sputtered recently. So it's, from a Yankees perspective, it's a bit of a perfect storm for the Yankees. They can walk in and, hold the Jays offense down. They have a chance. They can actually bury the Jays. The Jays offense, they can get very, very quickly. And all it takes is 1 inning to pound out 6 runs. That's all they need. So it's going to be an interesting series. It's going to be whoever can counterpunch quickly enough and whoever can survive the game better than the other one. So Baltimore, I'll only worry about Baltimore if the Jays lose 2 out of 3, and I'd be vastly concerned. But it's a big series, man. I mean, I want the Jays to get in there. I also want the Yankees to get in there because I think it's more exciting when the Yankees are in the playoffs. Don't shake your head, Rob. I'm right.
Who invited this?
But it is more. I mean, let's be honest here. All of us have an absolute hatred for the Boston Red Sox, so I think we can all agree on that. So yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah. So I think I do that with City Yankees and the Jays in the wildcard game. So that's where I stand.
Absolutely. This week, like, I mean, toughest week of the season. Each week we say biggest series of the year, biggest series of the year. This is finally it. And we know the implications. Obviously, they're 2 back now of that first spot, 1 back of the Yankees. So you have an opportunity here to gain ground. However, what happened last night on Sunday Night Baseball definitely did not help this team. They could be in a much better situation. And obviously, dropping a few games to the Twins to start the recent series doesn't help. But, you know, we all know what's happening. You're at home, expanded capacity. It feels like you have somewhat of things in your favor. But this Yankees team is going to be a lot different than what we saw a few weeks ago when the Jays swept them at Yankee Stadium. They figured things out. And just to start things off too, you're sending out Hyun-Jin Ryu in game 1, and just talk about being terrified because we really have no idea what he's going to bring. We've seen him been good against good teams, and we've seen bad teams hit him well too. So this is a complete mystery of what we're going to see him bring. And even looking further, if you want to look at a potential wildcard game, what scares me the most too is the potential wildcard game at Fenway Park. There's just a lot of things here for the next 2 weeks that we're going to be, it's going to be terrifying, but we're in for a long ride, and hopefully it ends up on the right side, and it's going to be a fun way here to the end of the season off for sure.
It's crazy though, because I want to ask your guys' opinion on this. Like, what is exactly the rationale behind starting Ryu? Is it just like playing to the resume, playing to the contract? Because I was there for his last start against Minnesota. He got into his windup, and everybody in the building, including himself, knew that ball was going to hit hard. He was fluttering pancakes right across the plate. And to me, it just looked like a guy who his season was just over. I mean, I'm not sure what exactly the logic behind it is. You can't get out of the 3rd inning against 2 teams who just crushed them, 2 last place teams, and now setting him out against the Yankees, who are red hot and have annihilated left-handed pitching. I mean, I don't know about this one, guys. I mean, I'm a little cautiously pessimistic about this first game. I just wanted to ask you guys, like, you guys agree with the move? Because I know it was me, Steven Matz, pitching on regular rest. He hasn't pitched great in his last start, but I think I trust him a little bit more than I do Ryu right now.
I don't think I'm going to watch. I honestly don't think I'm going to watch. I don't know if I can. I can't remember. I think it was you, Rob. Was it you or Robert? I said to you about Ryu starting. I just, for me, I think it's a mistake, but he could come good. Maybe he's going to earn his money. We'll see, I guess.
I mean, he's always been shaky, right? So, I mean, one start he's good, one start he's not.
June, yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you also got to remember, I mean, the other 2 reasons I could think of it was, I mean, what it was last Ryu's start against the Yankees. I mean, he threw no earned runs, man. I mean, that's kind of a sight, and 6 strikeouts. You can't go wrong with that. So, I mean, that's probably one of the reasons why they threw him in there. I mean, you can't really go with the bullpen. It's not like much of a difference, but yeah, no, that's really the only thing I can think of that Ryu starting that game. So.
Guys going to make me be the optimist here. Ryu, come on, we know what he's capable of. What I'm hoping is that he needed that 10 days kind of off his feet to get his head together, get a little bit of that endurance underneath him. He is coming off a short season. We all know Ryu's conditioning isn't that elite level of conditioning, but you know, he's a major leaguer. Marty, like you said, you know, last time out against the Yanks, he was pretty decent. So let's hope that we get the better version of Ryu. And compared to Stripling or someone like that, I would probably go Ryu.
I know that we're all kind of focusing on what happens with the Yankee series, but something that we've all been saying, well, I think we've all been saying it, is that the Red Sox at some point have to fall off. Do we think that they're possibly falling off at the end, and actually they may not do as well as we think they will against Baltimore? And does that maybe change things? Because like I've been looking at it, and even though they probably should have won yesterday, they haven't played great for a few weeks now. So is it possible that obviously I know that I said we got 8 games, we take 8 wins. That's what I said. But is it possible we might get away with actually losing maybe 2?
I mean, I don't know, man. Yeah, you said the Red Sox have been struggling. Prior to this Yankee series, they won 6 in a row, I believe, something like that. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I completely agree with your police work there that they've been bad for the last.
They were
few
top
weeks.
of the division. They were top.
Yeah,
of the division.
overall, they've had a bad second half,
and just
for sure.
gradually.
But at the same time, they're playing 6 games against 2 teams who, by the end of the year, will have a combined loss total of over 200. So at the same time, could they be struggling? Sure, it's possible, but they should be able to at least win 4 of these next 6 games, you would think, right? And that means it would really, we have to win 5 of the next 6. It's like the margin for error for us is still very low considering the quality of their opponent is so bad. Like, I think even them not playing their best baseball should be enough, right?
Agreed. But how many times have people said Baltimore should be smashed and they've ended up winning series? But it happened with us when we played them the first time and they took games from us. Because all I'm saying is it possible that this could happen? That Red Sox team doesn't scare me like maybe Houston does, or maybe the White Sox do, or the Dodgers. I'm just trying to put it out there. I think there's maybe too much play being played on the Yankee series where maybe Baltimore may do us. They're not going to do it on purpose, but they may end up doing us a favor.
So basically, the Jays will be back into a wild card spot if Boston falters. If Boston falters against Baltimore and whoever else they're facing, I think they're facing Texas. Is that what it is?
Boston,
Washington.
No, Washington.
Juan Soto.
Yeah,
so I was just about to say.
Yeah,
don't sleep on Juan Soto.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's a possibility the Jays could back into a wild card spot. The margin of error is so slim. They just have to go out there and just win. That's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They have to win. They can't think about, okay, we lost this game, we'll get them tomorrow, because tomorrow may put you 2 games behind or 3 games behind or whatever it might end up being. They got to go out there and win. That's it. It's unfortunate they're in this position, but it's also a fun position because now it's very exciting for all of us as fans, but they got to win. And they have Springer, they have Simeon, they have Hyun-Jin Ryu, who all have experience, and hopefully they can guide those young guys into a position of, hey, this is what real playoff baseball is like. This is trying to get into the playoffs. That's kind of get our heads together. So we'll see.
I agree with your take, Jay, on that possibility. I just think that you can't rule anything out, and we've seen crazy things this year, and we're going to see crazy things throughout the postseason. I'm not saying it's going to happen for sure, but I do think I agree with what you're saying in terms of that there is a chance that this happens, and I do see a chance of it happening. I see a lot of things being unpredictable throughout this last week. I don't know if you guys saw Jeff Passan's tweet today or his thread about all the possible, situations or the tiebreakers. And it's crazy to see how many things can go differently. And one little thing is going to change the entire outcome. But for me, it's impossible to predict. I understand the Red Sox have this strength of schedule after this series, or coming up, with the Orioles, and then ending things off with the Nationals, but you just never know. And that's why I'm still holding out a lot of hope here. And even with the Yankees, I mean, this series coming up is massive. We know this. And I just feel like, the Jays have this opportunity ahead of them, even if you can see a situation here where it's all these teams, you can see at different spots where you can see the Yankees in this, the Red Sox in this, the Jays in this. And that's why I know it doesn't look good on paper or based on what we're seeing, I guess, for predictions or just the math in general, but you got to let this play out. And that's why I'm all for the optimism and all the hope. And I know that's a lot of that comes at this time of the year, but unfortunately, that's really the only thing that you can do right now. And you just have a lot of things that are going to potentially change one thing, or there's going to be a lot of things that go to plan for some teams, maybe not. But, for this Jays team here, you have a prime opportunity here to pass the Yankees or at least make some ground up on them. One takeaway from me from this past series with the Twins, and I'm sure every Jays fan can agree with this, was George Springer. I mean, finally, getting healthy. He ditched the knee brace recently. He's back in center field now. And all of a sudden he hits 2 home runs over the weekend and he gets on base about 4 times. I think it was Sunday. I think he went 3 for 4 with a walk. I mean, it feels like he's getting hot at the right possible time and the best possible time. He remained in the leadoff position this entire time. And, really for the Jays here, it's just a rare opportunity because there's a lot of scoreboard watching this late in the season. We know that, and there's going to be scoreboard watching for the rest of the way, but the Jays have this opportunity in front of them to, speak for themselves and determine their own fate with the Yankees. You have an opportunity to make games up on the Yankees. Obviously they're done with the Red Sox, so you don't know exactly what's going to happen with them, but I'm looking at all possible, like all scenarios where there's a chance that this happens or that happens. I'm not here to, just be negative or not even negative, just completely rule out the fact that the Jays have a great chance to get in, because I really do think they do. And going back to the Ryu conversation, I agree with Steve. I'm optimistic here. And I know it's a lot to ask for. And I know it's crazy to kind of see the situation where you're sending out Hyun-Jin Ryu in this situation. But I mean, the only thing that you can really do is hope for a Pete Walker special. I'm not saying he's going to go out lights out, but you need him to have an acceptable start. And I think this game tomorrow to start off the series is it's going to say a lot to start this thing off. I know Wednesday you have Garrett Cole pitching against Jose Barrios, and then Thursday you have Robbie Ray going for that last game. So you feel good about that game for sure. But anything less than a series win here, it's not looking good for this team. So they need to determine their own fate. They need to beat the Yankees this series. And of course, this weekend, you got to take care of the Orioles. And it's crazy to believe that in a best case scenario for this team, by beating the Yankees or sweeping Baltimore, there's still a slim chance that you're in a tie break with both of these teams. So it's going to be crazy here, but anything can happen. And that's why I'm not ruling out any possibilities this weekend as well. Going back to your question, Jay.
Let's not forget that Seattle's 2 games back. So the Jays and the Yankees beating each other up, and Boston possibly faltering could open up a bit of a laneway for the Seattle Mariners to come through. So there's 4 teams battling for 2 spots, and back, but they could still sneak too. So we could end up having a Seattle-Toronto wild card for all you know.
I really hope they win Thursday, man. Mostly because I think the pitching matchup is Robbie Ray versus Corey Kluber. And Mo and I had so many arguments this offseason. He told me that the Jays should have signed Corey Kluber, that Robbie Ray was an overpay. And wouldn't it be sweet? I know he's not on this podcast, but it would be so sweet if Robbie Ray could clinch a Cy Young, beating Garrett Cole head-to-head. I mean, bragging rights forever. But to move on from that, one thing that kind of scares me, though, is that we're kind of assuming that we're going to sweep Baltimore in that last series of the year. And don't forget, one thing that I think kind of gets overlooked is that we have never swept Baltimore once this whole season. And in that last weekend, you're not going to have Ray or Barrios pitching. So you're going to be counting on Ryu, Max. Manoa's going to get a start in there. They're all capable, but it's not going to be your number one guys. And we know we keep saying how the Red Sox, they may lose 1 or 2 to the Orioles. Well, what's going to prevent us from losing 1 or 2 as well? So I just feel like Jays fans are assuming that that's going to be 3 easy wins when they could definitely sweep the Orioles, but it's a lot trickier. Like, they have to win essentially 5 of 6. And not only that, but they also need some help. They need some help from, like we mentioned, the Red Sox losing a couple to some bad teams, a Rays team who's going to go into the Bronx with nothing to play for against the Yankees who are fighting for their playoff lives. So yeah, I think there's definitely a chance, but I'm going to be honest, guys, I'm a lot less optimistic than I was a week ago. Last week, we had a freeway for the postseason. Now the road's closed. We got to take a few side roads. We got some traffic on the way. It's definitely a lot more colorful than maybe it needed to be.
So we went from Bryson getting me amped up to like Rob making me cautiously optimistic and realistic.
I know, like, what's just end it now? It's like, yeah, cheers for that, Rob.
It's my take, man.
No, it's a realist. You got to look at it that way. But
and this is why he doesn't host. This is why he doesn't host Fan Take Friday. Because imagine it.
I don't think anyone has the liver for it like I do there. So when we're 6 and 15. But no, like Bryson said, man, we got our fate in our hands. We got the team directly ahead of us. We were going in against them. All 5 guys in our rotation, they know how important these next 6 games are. So, I mean, you see it on a day-to-day when Manoa's on the hill. Just he's got his name up in lights. He's looking to be in the spotlight. Steven Matz, even pitching in New York previously, he knows how much these games mean. And I think all 5 of these guys are going to bring their best games to the hill. And hopefully Charlie recognizes where we are in the standings. I know he was saying he doesn't look at whatever and this and that, but you got to manage a lot of these games like it's game 7. And I know that seems weird to say against the Orioles to finish your season, but it's just every game is unbelievably important. And I'm just, oh man, I'm jacked up for this week.
You talked about like going to like Baltimore coming to us and like not taking it for granted. But then I look at not so long ago and we go to Yankee Stadium and we sweep them. And it's things like that. It really has been a Jekyll and Hyde season for us, especially with the offense. So if we get the offense that has smashed teams throughout the season, I don't have anything to worry about. I honestly don't worry. But if we get the team that turns up that can only score 3 or 4 runs in the space of 3 or 4 games, which has happened a couple of times this year, then we have a problem. But I think we need to take this to a better place, because otherwise it's too negative. Let's just say we win 6 or 7 games and we make the wild card spot. We take 1 or 2, doesn't matter which one.
One's a luxury. You got to get it. That's all it is.
Yeah. Like if we were to get it, like, let's face it, it's possible, but I don't think it matters at the moment. I think that all we have to do, it's Yankee series first. Let's see what happens there. Then it's on to Baltimore. But if we are to make the wild card spot, one of them, who do we want to play? We already know that Sheldon said the Yankees.
Yeah, it's more exciting. Who the hell cares about the Red Sox?
Easily the Red Sox. Look at that team. Look how vulnerable they are. Look at the relievers that they've been throwing out here the last 2 days. You're telling me you wouldn't want to play that team, who outside of Chris Sale their rotation is Chris Sale and 4 question marks, and then their offense, it's obviously, they have some heat in the middle of the order, but you look at that final, last 6 to 9 in their order, they're pretty gettable. I mean, I know that their lineup has put up a lot of runs, which any Red Sox team will when you play in 81 games in that ballpark. But I mean, I look at that team, and I've been saying it all year long, roster to roster, that's clearly the 4th best team in the American League East, in my opinion. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to end as the 4th seed in the AL East, but if we can get a chance to play them in the wild card, I'll definitely take my chances over that team than facing Garrett Cole and the Yankees. I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, Sheldon, like aesthetically, it might be a more entertaining matchup, but in terms of the Jays winning, I want the Red Sox for sure.
Nobody's saying anything. Everybody got quiet.
Everybody's so polite.
I know, eh?
Just doing my point, and then everyone's
I kind of disagree. I mean, I think I'm more confident playing the Yankees. I gotta say, I know Garrett Cole will be because also take into account, if we do play the Yankees, it'll be Garrett Cole versus Robbie Ray. I know obviously postseason doesn't matter come to the Cy Young race, but that series also will determine a lot in terms of who's the better pitcher. But honestly, I think I'm more confident hitting Garrett Cole than Chris Sale. We haven't seen Chris Sale for how long now? So, I mean, the players aren't going to know that much about him. Garrett Cole, we've seen already like once in the past month. We're going to see him again this Wednesday. And they'll take a lot of ground from that and thinking how they want to approach him and how they can hit him and win that game. So I disagree. I think the Yankees are a better option for them.
Thank you, Martin. Point. Martin's awesome.
He might also fake another injury too, so you never know.
Exactly.
Look out for that.
You got to keep an eye out. I'm going to be at that game, so if he walks off that field with an injury, I'm going to start yelling out. You don't even know, man. I'll get ready to go. You've seen it before, Rob.
Oh yeah. Quite a sight.
My hot take is we actually beat Garrett Cole. I think that for me is in the series coming up. That's the one game I'm sure we're going to win. It's just been like that all season. When we've played, when we've played against these aces and these so-called elite pitchers, we have won the game. So that's my take. If we play the Yankees this week and it's against Garrett Cole, we take that game. Probably lose the other 2 now, but we'll take that game. And if we make the wild card and we play the Yankees and it's him pitching, I actually don't think they'll pitch him if we beat him this week. There's my take.
Could you imagine like the roar from Yankees fans if they don't start Cole in that game? Like, what's his Aaron Boone's
the
not
Orioles
making it.
not bringing Britton in there. In that
He's
wild
just
card
not making it
game.
out of the building if he doesn't start that game.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Ubaldo
sure.
Jimenez, where are you?
I'm pretty sure he hasn't won against us this year.
No, he
No, I
hasn't.
know.
I don't think he has.
Yeah.
No.
No.
I think he did. He won when
Which
they played
month?
in Dunedin in April.
Okay, Dunedin doesn't count. It's not a real stadium.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, that's a tough one though. Like going back between possible wildcard opponents, I think I got to side with Rob. As much as the Jays could hit Gerrit Cole, and we've seen it a little bit this year. He hasn't been as dominant as he has been with other teams. I still think I'd rather the Red Sox. As much as it's crazy to say you're at Fenway, I know, but I know it's Chris Sale, but that team, I feel like the Jays just match up better with them. I mean, the Yankees, they have played the Yankees really well though this year. I know the Jays clinch the season series, I think, regardless. I think they're going to, even worst case scenario, I think they're going to win it by 1. So, the Jays have played both teams decently, but I think they've played the Yankees better. So, you know what? It's really close, and it's a really hard decision to make. And even this week coming up too, going back to what Jay brought up, I do think it's possible that, and I don't think we're really thinking about it as much as, or talking about it enough, is that the Jays do have a chance, I think, to hit off of Gerrit Cole. I really do think that they have a chance to do that. And, you know that you have Robbie Ray in game 3, and there's 2 out of 3 right there. So even if you want 2 out of 3, you're going to have to hit Gerrit Cole. I mean, and then of course you have the uncertainty of game 1 with Ryu. So there's a lot of things here that the Jays are going to have to do. But the one thing that we know this year, and this is why I still remain a little bit more optimistic than obviously you, Rob, is that no matter the cause, this team always makes it harder for themselves. And we know all the winnable games back in April, the bullpen situation throughout the year, but they still are in this thing. They've been hanging around this the entire year. They still come out to shine when it really matters, I think. And we've seen that. We've seen all the clutch moments they've had. And I really think a big boost for them was coming home at the end of July. I really think we saw a different side of this team. And I really do think that they have the potential here to make it a special last week of the season and get into that wild card spot. And even if whoever it is, the Yankees or the Red Sox, I do believe too on paper, and I think a lot of people should believe this, is that the Jays are the best team out of this 3 on paper. However, the inconsistency, that's why which Jays team are you going to get? We've seen the rotation struggle at times. We've seen the offense go up and down. We've seen at times where they've been both clicking at the same time, and that's when they've been the most dangerous. So there's a lot of question marks, but on paper, I do believe that this team's the best team out of both of them.
Do you guys have more confidence in the Blue Jays hitting Gerrit Cole or in Hyunjin Ryu having a good start against the Yankees? Like, what is more likely in your opinion? You guys kind of already answered it, but just curious.
Rob, I was literally just thinking of that as you were speaking. You know what? I'm gonna say Gerrit Cole, man. I don't know. Even though I was defending my boy Ryu there, Gerrit Cole, I believe we can hit him, man. I guarantee it. Just they've been hitting so well against them, and I know like the offense has their ups and downs. You also got to remember, like, I mean, this is basically Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s like first year full season where he can actually show what he's doing. And same with Bo, same with all of them. So, there's still a learning curve, but I mean, seeing them hit Gerrit Cole in the past, I believe that whole lineup can do some kind of damage, whether it's get on base, hit a home run, or hit a double in the left field. You never know. And I think so.
It pains me to say it, but they have hit Cole hard. And if Cole doesn't have a slider, he just becomes a fastball pitcher. And you could throw 100 all day you want, but we've seen Vladdy rake fastballs. We've seen Bo. They love the fastball.
Yeah.
And so it all depends on if Gerrit Cole's got his slider work. And if it's not working, the advantage is the Jays. I know we're talking about Hyunjin Ryu, but we got to think that Jamison Taillon is a pitcher they probably, over the course of this year, have had some difficulty with. Not with Taillon specifically, but a type of pitcher like him. We've seen it with the Twins, where they kind of threw guys who were throwing 92, 93, and that's still fast, but nothing like 97, 98. So, and I keep on, we only got 3 minutes left before Jay does his little thing, but
thank you, speaking clock.
I think we're forgetting one thing. The Yankee series is going to also boil down to the managers, and Aaron Boone in New York has been crucified at times, just like how we've crucified Montoya here in Toronto at times, probably worse in New York. So either these two make one misstep, the media and the fans are going to rip them to shreds. So it's going to be interesting to see how the media plays into how they report these games and who's going to get butchered and slaughtered and tarred and feathered and whatever else terminology you want to come up with.
Am I right? Am I right in thinking that they also haven't played at Rogers Centre this year?
They haven't.
They have not.
Yankees, no.
So that could play a factor as well, right?
30,000 fans reloaded, re-energized.
So this isn't Dunedin and Buffalo, where it was basically a home game for the Yankees, those two series. So, yeah, I mean, I think
even the conditions.
In relation to that.
It's also not even Yankee Stadium, where, I mean, the left field wall is 314 feet to a home run. So,
yeah.
But the ball does fly out. Ball can fly out. So there's
100%.
Yeah. Power. It's going to be power versus power too. So it's going to be an exciting series. I'm stoked to see it. So who's going to the games?
Don't believe I'm going to any.
I'll be there Wednesday.
I'll be there with Bryson P. Wednesday.
There you go.
All right.
Rob, you're going, aren't you?
No, I'm not going to actually go to any of the games.
Oh no, not
I was
anymore.
going with the guys, but we couldn't do it. It was too expensive. It came too late.
So why were they advertising like tickets from $15?
Because that's all the way up
500.
to the 500 level.
Yeah, 500 level seats. Because I got that call from a friend of mine. Hey, you want to go see a game? I'm like, I really don't want to go with you. Okay.
Yeah, 500 level's not the best.
I've only ever sat in 200 or lower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I went to ALDS Game 3 against Texas. I sat in the corner of the 500 level. I think it was like 3 rows from like the hotel rooms, and you couldn't see the right fielder. Anytime the ball was hit to right field, you just played the reactions of the crowd. You couldn't actually see the ball for the outfielder.
Yeah, it's not the best.
I mean, I'm sure. Like, I never sat behind the plate. I'm sure if you sat there, it's fine though. But yeah, don't sit in the corner. It's like obstructed view too.
Right,
Yeah,
guys.
20s.
I have. Sorry, but
Go ahead.
I'm going to cut you off because it's my show, not yours.
I thought it was Yankee Central with Jake.
Yeah, that's going to be next year if this all goes wrong this week. So let's move away from what's going to happen, because I'll be honest, it's making me kind of nervous, and it's Monday and it's an off day. So let's talk about good stuff. Throughout the season, there's been highs.
Did you record? Jay, did you record?
Yeah, straight away.
Oh, okay.
I've learned from my mistakes.
Sounds good. Sorry for cutting you off. Just wanted to make sure.
But yeah, just like obviously with the highs and lows that we've had, obviously highs being like Mondays, Wednesdays, lows being Fridays. What's been the biggest plus point from this season? What have you taken from this season where you can go, actually, do you know what? Even if we don't make the playoffs, this has been great. Like, I know already what my answer is.
I think my answer is, like, you just have so many redeemable parts of this roster. I mean, coming into this season, a long time ago, we weren't sure if Vladimir Guerrero could end up being that guy that we all thought he was coming to this season. Not me. I mean, I always had my stock. I never sold on it. But we never actually saw it over the course of a full season. Same with Bo Bichette. We know that he had, very good performance in spurts. We actually hadn't seen it for a 162 game season. And now both of those guys, they're proven all-stars. I mean, you remember the last time they left the Rogers Centre in 2019 on a 95-loss team, so much uncertainty. And now you have 2 superstars along with George Springer, who hopefully next year, the health gods will be more on his side. Unfortunately, hasn't quite been the case all season, but just the core of the team is kind of set. You have those 3 hitters. You build around those guys. Hopefully, Marcus Simeon comes back. If not, I do feel like there are some replacements out there that can sort of replicate some of his production. Obviously, it's hard to find a 7-win player, but it's possible. It's out there. You have Alec Manoa, who's established top line starter in his first year, who you have a lot of potential for, and Jose Barrios.
None of you wanted. Let me just cut in there. None of you wanted Manoa coming up, remember? Or I'm not sure.
No.
He's only pitched. He's only pitched a handful of games in the minors. I remember. I was the only person. I said I didn't want him starting on opening day.
I said
opening day. We knew he was going to be up eventually, man. Like, don't try to twist it now.
Yeah. I said give it a few more starts in the minors before you call him up. But then they called him up and he did well. But definitely not an opening day. I thought it was a little.
But the Yankees fan, he did well.
Who? I said no. Manoa has done well. But I've openly said that I didn't want Manoa coming up on opening day. I wanted to get a few starts in the minors to see what he can do.
Anyway, as I was saying, you also have Jose Barrios. We kept talking about how Robbie Ray is going to win the Cy Young, and he probably will, most likely. I think Jose Barrios is sneakily going to get some votes. I mean, he's obviously not going to win it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes anywhere from 5 to 10 in the AL. I mean, those numbers he's put up ever since moving to Minnesota, he's kind of replicated that success. So you have him next year. You have some flexibility. There's money to spend. You can bring back Robbie Ray if you pay him. You have still quite a, after trading Martin and Simeon Woods Richardson, you still have a lot of prospect capital. So in case you want to go out and make a cost-controlled move, maybe for a guy like Jose Ramirez, that option's still there. So it would be nice if the Blue Jays make the playoffs, obviously, but at the same time, even if, worst comes to worst and they don't for whatever reason, there's plenty of reason to be optimistic that they'll be right back in this spot being competitive September baseball next season with the offseason. I truly believe that there are moves out there this offseason that can elevate this roster into a World Series contender. And that's what I'm saying. Regardless of what happens this year, there's no reason to believe this team won't be very good next year again.
Yeah, I think
Jay had asked for one there, Rob. Sorry.
I got the train rolling and I just kept going, man. So optimistic talking about the future that I just couldn't not hit all the points. My bad.
No, and one thing you said too really stands out is that the management, the ownership, they're willing to go out and supplement the young core that they have. We've seen it the last 2 off seasons with Ryu and now Springer. Springer definitely needs a full off season to get his legs back underneath him. But that's huge. And then, even looking at potentially losing Simeon and Ray, this team is going to go out and find creative ways to replace that production. And then the first point you hit off, Vlad, the arrival of the real generational talent that we were expecting right from when he was first promoted. He's here. He's an MVP candidate for sure. I know there's a lot of battle here between Ohtani and Vlad. We're probably not going to get into that right now, but there's just, Rob, like you said, so many positives to take off this team, even if we don't make it. And this is a team too that if you look at their expected place in the standings, they're supposed to have 95 wins already. But there's a lot to look forward to from this young team for sure.
Especially also when you look at the expected predictions coming into the season, I had them winning 87 games. They're at 87 wins right now. So it's crazy how they've elevated their expectations right away. You know what I'm saying? I thought they'd be in this position right now, and yet we're sitting here this team should be so much better because of how well they played over the course of the season. It's going to be really fun to watch for years to come for sure.
Yeah, I think going back to the start of the year, I mean, we've come into the season, there's so many question marks as much as we know the potential was there. And yeah, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the highlight. I mean, we all know, you guys pretty much summed it up perfectly with all the doubts going back to 2019 and 2020. He comes out and he puts up the numbers that he has. And the fact of the matter is we're going to look back on this in who knows how long, maybe even as soon as next year. And you're going to look back at this season alone and wonder how the heck he didn't get an MVP or didn't win the MVP with the numbers that he's putting up this year. So, you hope that he could eventually get one. And, you feel like it's likely going to happen if this production stays up, but lots of other things too. I think to kind of sum it up quickly from a few you guys touched on briefly was the turnaround of the starting rotation. That's definitely one thing I'm taking away from this as well. You come into the season and this is pretty much your weak point of the team, as long as the bullpen, pretty much pitching in general. And you have Hyun-Jin Ryu, who's basically your only starter that you're really going to rely on. You take a flyer on Robbie Ray at the time. I think he was one of the first transactions of the offseason last year. He comes back and you knew that he was going to have to be a deciding factor for this rotation. But however, we didn't obviously know that he was going to come out and pitch like a Cy Young Award winner. And he's likely going to get that award if all goes according to plan. And he's obviously made himself up to get paid a lot this offseason with Marcus Simeon. And now you wonder if those guys are going to come back, at least maybe one out of the two. But I think at this point, we'll probably save that conversation until the season's actually over, because we got to kind of cherish these last moments with them here in the last stretch. And hopefully we get to see a playoff run with them. So you have that. And then you just have pretty much the addition of Springer. I think we've seen glimpses of him when healthy. Pretty much that first homestand back in Toronto was pretty much his peak of the season, just because of his health, obviously. So it's a shame that we didn't get to see him enough this year, but you do hope that, from what you said, Rob, a few minutes ago, that next year he is back and he is healthy, playing every day. So that's one thing I take away from it. And quickly on the rotation too, these guys are pretty much set for next year besides Ray and Matt. So you have your three guys who are going to be set next year, and who knows what's going to happen with Hyun-Jin Ryu. But of course, on paper, you got to put them in there for next year. As of now, obviously things can change, but you have Jose Barrios there next year. You have Alec Manoa for the time being. Maybe you work out an extension with Barrios so he can stay here long term. We know that they're going to have to pretty much address the bullpen this offseason as well, as because there's only been really a few bright spots, and that's all been around Jordan Romano. So I think one thing too to highlight this too was the amount of clutch moments they had in key situations. You have the Oakland game pretty much going back to almost a month ago there. And you know, if the Jays get in here, you're going to look back and say, maybe this was the turning point, that game alone, when the Jays make that comeback on that Friday night and they take care of business that weekend against Oakland. You have a couple big series wins. You sweep the Yankees a few weeks ago. You hope that you can add to the list and beat the Yankees this week. So you have that. And then, of course, for me, the highlight too was definitely coming home. I think I'm going to put that at first because of how impactful
finally
it's
somebody
really been.
said it, and that for me has been the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Coming back to Toronto and seeing them play at Sky Dome, Rogers Centre, whatever you want to fucking call it. I don't care these days. But like, seriously, but like for me, that's been the biggest thing. I don't think we would be in this position now if we were still playing in the States.
How good of a storybook ending would this be if, you know, the Jays play their home games, two other U.S. cities where the Yankees are the home team essentially, and then they come back to Toronto. The Jays, honestly, they're like I was back in high school. They procrastinated hard. They took until September to get red hot. Like it took them all the way to September. And then even that game against the Orioles, you know, they're getting no hit. It's the top of the seventh. Like, hey guys, how about we put up 11 runs? Like, okay, let's take care of it. So I feel like this is the last week. They know there aren't too many of these, oh, we just come back out tomorrow kind of thing. I feel like they're going to turn on that magic that they have in them. Springer's getting going. I think Ryu coming back, I think with the little break that he had, he's going to throw some of these hot Yankees hitters off their timing. And then you can come out with your two best guys, Barrios and Ray. And I'm knocking on wood here, but maybe there's, you know, a sweep happening here. And then you can hope for the Rays. You can't discount the Rays too. I know they've got nothing left to play for. They're already in, but they always find a way to win with whatever they have on the field. So I don't think they're not going to, you know, give in easy to the Yankees just because, hey, we can rest most of our regulars or whatever it might be. They're going to try to be like, hey, fuck you, New York, you're out. And then hopefully Juan Soto can do us some favors too. And just, he's been so hot. I don't think I've seen a month like that. And it's kind of going unnoticed because his team is so shitty right now. But Juan Soto is a legit one-man wrecking crew. And hopefully he can help us out in Boston there as well.
Also, too, I think what's big is that this year, there's no more expanded rosters. You know how like you have 40 guys, so the Rays are kind of forced to play their key guys. I mean, they might, you know, not stretch a pitcher out or use their key relievers, but it's not like it's going to be, you know, a full-on AAA Durham Bulls roster taking the field at Yankee Stadium, right? So they're actually going to have to play some of their key guys, and we all know some of their key guys that was a part of a 100-win team that's going to be AL East in the number one seed. So if you're looking at that, that's an optimistic factor for the Jays, right? So that'd be huge. They can win at least one game if we can take care of business.
Sheldon.
I was waiting for Martin.
Actually, I was gonna actually ask you guys if because I mean you see George Springer, he's getting hot again a little bit. Do you think he could probably be the most important factor in this Yankee series, whether he's hot, whether he's batting or not? Batting well or not? So I mean, I could take it or
He's doing it at the right time, man. Like on Friday, we were screaming that he shouldn't be in the leadoff spot, and then he comes out the next 2 days and has a couple good days with the knee brace off and back in center field. So for the record, I was one saying leave him in the leadoff spot. I know Blue Jays center was a little bit divided on that. But no, he's the catalyst up top for sure. He's got that playoff experience. Having Simeon and Bo and Teo, I wish that Lourdes, God, Grichick, it wasn't enough for you to be a bad player. You had to take out Lourdes. Of course, I'm joking, but I would love to see Gurriel come back and be hot. It just makes the lineup that much longer having him in the 6 hole.
Plus, he's on fire, right?
Yeah.
He was. We don't know what he's going to be now.
Randall, Grichick, and Danny Jansen are the 2 players that I have to defend because everyone else loses their mind against them and they just drag them in the dirt, and I'm just there trying to somewhat hold them up. It's been like that all season long. And Jansen's kind of cooled off the haters now with his recent hot streak. I think it's it's no doubt that he's probably the best looking catcher on the team as of right now. But yeah, Randall, Grichick, he's kind of been the scapegoat as of late, and I'm just trying my best to prop him up just a little bit.
Jansen has redeemable qualities, whereas Grichick is kind of like, counting stats and nothing else really. Good defense on the corner here and there, but
he was good in April.
Yeah.
April.
I thought Sheldon. I thought it was what is it? Dunedin. If park doesn't count, it's not a big league park.
I mean, with Grichick, I had such high hopes for that guy this year. I actually thought he was actually going to put it all together and have I wouldn't say a Teoscar type season, but reasonably well. And he had my hopes up high in April. Then in May, it was a little bit. He's kind of slowed down a little bit. And dude just went like it's a total tailspin. Come on.
I will say though,
he was drafted before Mike Trout.
He was drafted one spot before Mike Trout.
I don't mind him being our 4th outfielder though.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I have no.
We're fine with it. But the thing is, you can't trade him. If you're going to trade him, you're going to have to add a prospect with him, and the team that probably takes him is probably going to dump him anyway. So, the thing about Randall Grichick is he's got the tools to do something, to actually be a better player than what he is. But something is up, man. Like he'll go hot and then he'll go ice cold, and that ice cold spell is like 2-3 months at a time, and then he goes and steps on poor Lourdes Gurriel, who was trying to get out of his way, and God knows what else he's done to anybody else in that clubhouse. Probably beaten a few of them.
If I were to summarize, if I were to summarize the Randall Grichick experience, it would be there are going to be 2 different segments, 6-week segments of him looking like a great big league hitter a year. 2 6-week segments, and then the rest you might as well just throw up an out on the board and move on to the next batter because it'll drive you insane. Outside of those 2 6-week segments.
And the thing is, he's shown the ability to go opposite field. I think this year I'm kind of going to try and defend him a little bit. Start seeing Vladdy go off and start hitting home runs, and Bo starting to pop home runs, and Teoscar's doing what he's doing. And, there's Randall Grichick thinking that, oh, shoot, maybe I need to try and catch up with these guys, when in April he was fine and he was doing really, really well. And he has to figure out who he wants to be as a player. I mean, is he a 30 home run, 180 strikeout guy, or could he be a 25 home run guy or a 22 home run guy with a 275 batting average? I would take that with an on-base 20. I would take that handily. I have to figure out who he is. And time hasn't run out on him. He's still on the youngish side. But as a 4th outfielder, he's not bad. As trade bait, you're not going to get anything for him, unfortunately.
He's
plus
expensive.
Batting average doesn't matter anyway. Anyway,
listen, that's enough out of you and your batting average hatred. I'm so disappointed in you, Rob. I'm going to come to Scotiabank and rob it. I'm going to say, and I'm going to say, Rob told me to do it. This is the guy. I will deliberately get myself arrested and implicate you in it. Rob told me to do it.
I see how it is. Yeah. Well, right now it's here recorded on camera, so I have the proof here to back up my case.
If you carry on talking crap, mate, I'll back him up.
Listen, now I blame J2.
But funny thing is that you actually, Sheldon, you name dropped Teoscar, and we talked about all the positive things that coming out of the season. We didn't mention Teoscar because that's just who he's been all season long. He's flown so under the radar, and you look at the season that he had. He's just been outstanding. He has an OPS. He's on a higher OPS this season than Simeon does, which is insane to think about. 30-plus home runs for the first time in his career. He's kind of replicated last season's 2-month season to a full season. 2 years ago, I think I was ready to move on from just DFA him and move on because I thought the tools were there, but he would just never put it together. And now I'm saying the Jays should probably consider extending him. I mean, talk about extending Vlad and Bo. He's right up there for me.
It's not just the home runs though, is it? With him, he's actually hitting for average now. Like the guy's hitting 300.
Edwin Encarnacion
Yeah.
2.0, man.
Yeah, he's also got
found his way late in his career.
Yeah, he's
And
also
he
got
missed
more,
3 weeks. He missed 3 weeks in April too.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's also got more RBIs. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Yeah.
So he can put the ball in play and score people in, man. Like he's
Yeah.
great.
His opposite field stroke, when you take a look and go opposite field, is like so sweet. Like he gives in and goes opposite field so easily. And that's how he gets his RBIs. That's how he gets his extra base hits. Like he's become a complete hitter. And we saw a glimpse. We saw it last year, but it was such a short season that, you kind of think, was this the true Tosker? Was it just like a 60-game hot streak or a 50-game hot streak? I'm like, he was the one guy that I didn't really worry too much about. I was just wanting him to do really well. And if I'm gonna nitpick, I want to see him steal more bases, man. Dude is fast.
Yeah, he's pretty quick.
Yeah, so I would like to see him steal a few more, but he's got like 10 or something, 9 or 10 or something, so can't be too picky. But what he's done in that lineup is just amazing. So, like Rob said, dude just flies under the radar. Like Jay, he's not saying anything.
No, I'm just listening to you. I'm listening. I'm taking it all in. But okay, I sit here and we go through. Obviously, everyone spoke about Vladdy. We know that Marcus has had a great season. I think Bo overall has been good. I think he's still got a lot of room for improvement in certain aspects of his game. Who is your standout player this year, though? Like just very, very simple. Let's not go into like 3-hour answers like Rob wants to give us, like 18 different players with 75 different scenarios. Just like quickly, who and why? Because if Vladdy had still been on a tear this week, I think it would be a no-brainer. But now that he started dropping down in some of the categories, like I think my answer is going to be slightly different. But like, who would you go? We'll start, Martin. We'll start with you. I'm going around my clock. You can't probably see what I can see. So, Martin, let's start with you.
Like this year, you said, right?
Justice, yeah. We don't want to talk all time.
You know what? I think it's got to be Robbie Ray, man. And it's got to be Robbie Ray. And the reason I'm going to say that was because he didn't have last 2 years. He wasn't really pitching that well. He was pitching okay. But this year he came in and we didn't expect him to be this good. And he just turned the boat around. And he's a Cy Young candidate. He's going up against big teams, giving us big wins and throwing almost no hitters, three hits. He's got about 240 strikeouts. Like we just absolutely did not see this coming. So he's my player, I would say, in my opinion.
Okay, Rob.
I'm going with Vlad, man. I mean, we talked about, this recent tailspin. I wouldn't even call it a tailspin. It's just been one series, but he still has a 1,000 OPS. I mean, coming into this season, we have imagined Vlad last week of the year with a 1,000 OPS? He is not going to win the MVP, but he's having an MVP season, no question about it. Had this been any other year, it's a shoe-in. It's got to be Vlad.
Sheldon.
I'm going to actually stay away from Robbie and Vlad. I'm going to stay with Teoscar. I think his emergence has helped a lot of the hitters in front of him. Think about it. If you take Teoscar out of the lineup, I know people may kind of say it's Vlad, but if Vlad didn't have Teoscar behind him, maybe he wouldn't have been getting the fastballs he's been getting, and he might be pitching around him a little bit more. It's almost like pick your poison. You go with Vlad, he's got, obviously the peripherals are amazing, but then you got a guy right behind you hitting 330 home runs, 100 RBIs. I have to go with Jeff. So I'll stay with him.
Bryson.
I'm going to stay away from Vladdy as well and Robbie Ray. For me, it's Marcus Simeon. I mean, I just think the signing in general, and I think it makes me more of a standout than Robbie Ray, because I think we knew with Robbie Ray, things kind of turned around when he became a Blue Jay. And for Marcus Simeon, we know the 2020 he had, it was a disaster for him. The Jays take a flyer on him, another one they do. And the guy's leading the team in WAR at 7.2, 7-win player this year for this team. He's playing every day. He doesn't DH. it's exactly what you want in your team. And for me, him in the 2 spot and leading off for as long as he did without Springer, I mean, I think that's what kept this offense going because of how slow of a start the offense really did. Not everyone was hot at the same time is what I'm trying to say. And he really ate up that leadoff spot for a while. And just to see the fielder and everything, the impact he has on the field, for me, it's Marcus Simeon. I think he's my standout player this year.
Steve-O.
Well, we can't hear you, Steve.
Oh, you're muted.
All right, there we go. So each one of you took my answer. I was going to go with a different person. He said Robbie Ray, then he said Vlad, then he said Teo, and it's like one by one. But I got to stick with Bryson on Simeon because of the way he goes about doing his work and the way that it rubs off on the other guys, and that they've all taken those steps forward, kind of seeing the preparation that he puts into it. No matter win or lose, you have a bad game, he goes out, he does the same stuff. And, it's been a massive luxury to have a guy. I know when we signed him, I was kind of like, 18 million for a guy who's going to have to move to second base when we absolutely desperately need pitching. We were going in with Hyun-Jin Ryu, and then our next guy was Steven Matz and Robbie Ray, who we didn't know what we were going to get anything from. And then we had, of course, a guy, we never say his name here ever again, Tanner Roark. I said it, but yeah, no, it's just, there's a point to be made for all the names that were said here today. Robbie Ray, trusting Pete Walker to just throw his stuff down the middle and let his movement take it off the plate. Vlad being a generational talent and loosening up all the other guys. I love seeing Vlad out there and how much he loves playing baseball, and that translates to all the other guys as well, especially a guy like Teo, who's a big family guy, right? And then Simeon, though, for me as well. I'm going to stay on that train because of just what he means with his veteran leadership, and that, he's kind of a no-nonsense guy too, but he's been amazing, and he's in for a huge payday.
These guys, they signed 2 players on 1-year deals who ended up being 7+ win players. It's insane, like the job that the front office did this past offseason. It really is.
So we're agreed that it wasn't Tanner Roark being DFA'd, which turned our season around.
The diesel truck.
By subtraction.
Like, you look at the beginning of the season, though, and some of these players that we had in there, and it's like, how did we end up where we are now? Like the Tanner Roark disaster, Tyler Chatwood disaster, like
Rafael Dolis, which was kind of
like Dolis, and that went on for way too long. Like, that should have ended way before it actually did. But you look at these things. But yeah, I have to agree. I think I love watching Vlad. Like, if I'm asked to pick someone to go and watch just one at bat, I'm picking Vlad every time. But I have to agree. I think Marcus coming in, George Springer, when he's played and he's played well, you can see the influence he has on the team on the fun aspect of it, dancing with everyone, doing the handshakes, all of that kind of stuff. But you look at Marcus Simeon and you look at the professional that he is. Yeah, he has a little bit of a joke, but it's tiny. For him, it's about playing, it's about winning. And I think that will have more of an effect on anyone this week than anyone else. Because I think he'll be the kind of player that says, right, you guys, you fucked around all year. I've let you dance. I've let you joke around. This is serious time. We've got 1 week to do this. And I look at the guy, he scares me a little bit. I'll be honest, he kind of scares me. And I think that the kids will respect that. And I think George Springer, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him tone it down just a little bit this week. Just because I think there's so much on the line now. They've been able to get away with a few things over the last few weeks. It's crunch time now, and I think Marcus, I think he's just shown that all year. He's calm. He's productive. Defensively, he's been near enough 100%. Like, I don't know how many errors he's made, but it's not many.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, like I think that if you're looking at someone like the season that he's put up and his numbers, like people were talking about, and I didn't want to talk about this at all, but we might as well. Obviously,
yes, you did.
The MVP. No, I didn't really, because I actually think it's a pointless conversation. Me and Sheldon, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
it's already decided who the MVP is. They've already picked who the MVP is, and all because of the wrong reasons. Like, as far as Rob, I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm talking like just don't. There's no point shaking your head, because you're going to start coming up with all these stats that nobody's ever heard of. And the reality is Ohtani is not going to be in the playoffs, and he's not going to win the World Series. Vladdy and or Marcus possibly could. And all I'm saying is that when you look at what they've done this year, Vladdy against Marcus has got a good right to go, what about me, guys? And I just feel that that's the case. Rob will disagree, so I'm going to mute him. and everyone else, feel free to chip in.
I'll stay out of it.
Yeah, you keep your WAR and your WAR plus and your WAR minus and every other WAR stat that you got bouncing that little head of yours, and you stay out of it. And stats we never heard of before from from some penguin in Antarctica that came up to you and said, "Here, there's a new stat you can use on baseball." Bryson, you go for it, buddy.
Yeah, I'll go. Okay. I agree with you guys. I understand. I obviously know Rob's opinion on this, and I do agree. I think it is all for the, a lot of reasons here. For pretty much what I'm going to say is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. really can't do anything here just because everyone is giving Ohtani the MVP and the recognition because of what he's done individually. Yes. And I do think there's an actual argument to be made because of the team impact. And you look at where the Angels sit, and then you look at where the Jays sit. I mean, the Jays might get in the playoffs. And if they do get in the playoffs, they have the talent to go on a run. And really, without Vladimir Guerrero Jr., where are they? I mean, you look at the impact that he's made to get them this far, because it's been obviously a team effort on this lineup, but he's definitely been the one that's been the highlight because of the numbers and everything that he's put up. And that's why, you feel like he should get more recognition and more consideration than what he deserves. But a lot of people, and pretty much I would say it's definitely over 90%. There's definitely a small percentage of people who kind of believe that Guerrero deserves some consideration, but most people have been set in stone since May and June, I guess. I understand their points. I understand both sides of it, but I'm always been with the MVP, no matter what sport it is, and it's always in consideration too. It just feels like in this case, for some reason, there's not consideration for, but usually there is. It's the team's success. It's the impact that he's made on his team. And you look at where the Jays currently sit, and you look at the Angels, and I do think that deserves some recognition, but I just doesn't feel like it has been this year for some strange reason.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Here's all I'll say.
No one asked you.
Yeah, we thought you were going to stay out of this.
Can you name one pitcher on the Angels other than Ohtani? Anyone? One.
Dylan Bundy.
Exactly. Dylan Bundy's the only one you can name. That's why the Angels aren't going to the playoffs, because their pitching stinks. They're just not a good team. They're just not a good team. That's why.
Well, who cares? That's their problem.
All right. I'm just saying that's why they're not making the playoffs. The Jays are just a better team.
I just don't think
it's tough.
I understand that, but I just think that's not entirely the point. I feel like you're avoiding it a little bit just because you have to see what both sides are. And I've
been told to stay out of it. How am I avoiding it?
If you take Vlad off the Jays, are they still in the position that they're in right now, fighting for the playoffs?
No.
You take Ohtani off the Angels because you don't know anybody else.
And they're still shit.
They're still garbage.
And they have Mike.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying. If you remove both players from both teams, the Blue Jays are still a more competitive team than the Angels. That's all I'm saying.
So
much more.
I mean, if you take a look at it too, because Ohtani's hit barely over 200 since the All-Star break.
900 OPS.
Yeah, he's got to know. He's
got
good. He's good. He's a great player.
Vlad's a better hitter.
He's going to win the MVP. But if you took Ohtani as a hitter and put him up to Vlad as a hitter, obviously Vlad's a better hitter.
Yeah.
You take Ohtani as just a pitcher, put him up to Robbie Ray or Garrett Cole. Ohtani's not going to win Cy Young, so he's not close. So we're going to have this Ohtani conversation every year that the Angels finish fourth place just because he pitches as well as he hits.
I don't know. That's a good question. What's going to happen from this year forward? But right now, as it's currently stands, you can't just look at him as just a hitter or just a pitcher. It's the full body of work, right? I agree with you. If that's the case, then give it to him every year, right? Because he's the only guy who pitches and hits. So they'll have to do something about it. But as for right now, this season, I think, it's like we guys mentioned, it's done. It's like it's him. But
I heard,
yeah,
I heard
do
a
feel like that's
rumor.
gonna
Sucks.
I heard a rumor that next year Vladdy's going to be our closer. Like
It sucks, though, 'cause
it's
if it-
nuts.
yeah.
It is
Honestly,
nuts.
I say if the Jays make the playoffs with a statement week this week, Vlad's got to be, if he misses it, he misses it by like this much.
I think he'll miss it only because they're going to split the vote between Marcus, Teoscar, and Teoscar will get the less of the amount of votes, but there's going to be Marcus and Vladdy that will split the vote. And that's how Ohtani will get it.
Okay, so before we ended, Martin wanted to ask a question. So ask your question. You go ahead first, and then we'll continue to slate Rob. You're wrong. Sheldon would know because he's probably seen him play, right? So possibly. I don't know. I forget how old I am. So Vladdy. So basically, we're saying Vladdy should be the MVP, but it's going to be Ohtani. In Rob's, go on. So does Vladdy end up winning all of the hitting awards like Silver Slugger and all that nonsense? Like, MLB are saying it's going to be Bryce Harper though. Not they're not saying, but with the amount of coverage, with the amount of coverage they've been giving him, it's unreal. It's unreal. Like I find myself having to like not read their content because it's so biased towards certain people. It's crazy. It's great, yeah, but probably not as much as they show Ohtani love. It's not happening. No, but let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Rays just for a little bit. If like, because they're talking about like this whole Montreal thing, right? Like, if they go, does that mean that we won't end up with them being in the AL East anymore because they're like there? Look, help me out, guys. I'm just like, let's get rid of them. Like, we don't like playing there. We don't like playing against them. It'd be better if they were in another division. Exactly. There are more people on this podcast now than they have in their stadium. Yeah, it looks like a circus tent. It looks like a circus tent. Yeah, with a bunch of clowns. Tell us. Steve, always massive thanks for coming on. I know that it's been difficult to try and get you on, but just quickly before you go, if we had to take one of two players back out of Tanner Rourke or Rafael Dolis, who would you choose? Funny. Dude, pleasure as always. We'll see you Friday. And that's him gone. Always like to hit him with the weirdest of questions. Yeah, we're close to being done. I guess the last thing is really, like, obviously we've skated around, but always come back to it. So we might as well do it one last time. Predictions, but I don't want predictions till the end of the week, because I think that will be jinxing it. Predictions for the Yankees series. Rob, we'll start with you. Bryson? Martin, gone. Right, before we go to Sheldon, I predicted on Fan Take Friday that we will win 8 out of 8. That was on Friday after the defeat. We're 2 for 2. We're 2 for 2 so far. I said to Steve, I am the oracle. I'm gonna. Yeah, but it's only a woman if you think it's a woman, huh? But no, but yeah, mate, I'll be whatever you want me to be. It's not a problem. But here's my take. I think we sweep the Yankees. I've said it. No one else is brave enough to say it, but I'll say it. I think we sweep the Yankees. Sheldon, tell us what you think. Showing his true colours, huh? Damn, I'm going to need to do some real bad editing now to make him sound like that he's gone for the Jays rather than the Yankees. Like, like, look, let's be realistic. It could go that way, but I think, like Sheldon said, I think that regardless, we sweep Baltimore and we still manage to get in there somewhere. That's my hope anyway. Guys, Martin and Bryson, massive thanks for coming on. Guys, it is really a pleasure to have someone that goes on Fan Take Friday and vents it's good. Like, I wanted to get Nick on, but I was really like, I just don't know. I just don't know if it's a good move. And Nick, if you are watching this, by all means, message me. We'll get you on the show. But you have to kind of be in a good mood, because it's just not good listening. Yeah, not after a Friday, because that's never a good thing. Bryson, finally managed to get you on, man. I know we've been talking about this for ages, but like, it's finally happened. The first person to turn up that's got a real microphone. Yeah, like, he's even got the voice for radio. Whereas, yeah, Sheldon, you've got the face for radio, but like, it's yeah. But it's not. Do you know? Here's the thing, though. I've been thinking about, like, what song do I create next if we don't make the playoffs. If we don't make the playoffs. So yeah, like, I'm not. Look, I can do many things. I'm no singer, but that had to be done. That had to be done. That's actually one of the highlights of the year, to be honest. Like, coming out with that, even my wife thought it was funny. Yeah, there's no chance of us bloody winning. Yeah, but no, honestly, a pleasure, boys. All I can say is it's going to be a tense few days. So no doubt we will all be in the chat at some point. But yeah, go Jays, go! I think. Don't forget, guys, I know that I haven't been around for like a month, but YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you consume your podcast, it will be up. Today's Monday. I'm hoping before Wednesday, because if it's not, it ain't going up at all. And hopefully we'll catch you for a special playoff edition of Jay's Talk with Jay. How's that? Because that's going to have to happen if we make the playoffs and we make the wild card. I've got a feeling next Monday we might be doing this again. Yeah, go Jays. Bye, guys. A pleasure. We're out of here. We're done.